Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into the ancient Upasaka Shila Sutra, which is this profoundly deep philosophical text that completely flips the script on what we think we know about generosity, karma, and spiritual discipline. Honestly, it's not just some dusty historical document. It's a radical, eye-opening guide on the true anatomy of what it means to actually be good. If you've ever wondered how your actions literally ripple out into the universe, this is exactly where we need to look.
So ask yourself a really honest question right off the bat. When you give to others, whether it's your time, your hard-earned cash, or your energy, are you giving to get something back? Are you secretly hoping for some recognition, maybe a tax write-off, or even just that warm, fuzzy feeling inside? Or is there a much deeper, purer mechanic of charity at play here? The source material we're exploring today is going to force us to strip away all those everyday assumptions and look at the absolute core of why we give.
To understand all of this, here is our roadmap for today. We've got 5 clear sections. First, the essence of pure giving. Second, material wealth versus spiritual gifts. Third, karma and the true refuge. Fourth, dispelling myths of fate. And finally, the power of precepts. All right, let's jump right in.
Part 1. The essence of pure giving. The shift from stinginess to true charity. The sutra wastes absolutely no time. It immediately forces us to redefine the physical act of charity, and it starts entirely with our internal mindset. Check out the stark contrast drawn here. It defines stinginess not just as refusing to open your wallet, but as this deep internal state of fear. It's hoarding your wealth and even your physical energy because you mistakenly view material things as permanent. On the flip side, we have pure giving. This is executed solely out of deep compassion. You aren't doing it to get a gold star, you're doing it specifically to destroy your own inner afflictions, like greed and ego, with the ultimate goal of reaching spiritual liberation, or nirvana. It's a total paradigm shift, right?
In this list brilliantly illustrates just how rigorous this definition of purity actually is. To give purely, the text says you have to avoid the 4 evils, which include things like harboring doubt or holding false views. But pay attention to the 5 avoidances during the actual act of giving. You can't just select so-called worthy recipients. You can't sit there and judge whether the person asking is good or bad, or choose them based on their social status. You definitely can't look down on them, and you certainly can't use harsh words. The sutra is basically telling us that the second you attach your ego or your judgment to your charity, it instantly ceases to be pure.
Moving on to Part 2, Material Wealth versus Spiritual Gifts, where we discover the ultimate form of charity.
This naturally begs the question, if giving is all about breaking internal afflictions, is handing over a $20 bill actually the highest form of charity? Well, the sutra explicitly divides giving into 2 categories and ranks them. First, you have material giving, food, medicine, wealth. This is great, but it only provides temporary, worldly relief. Then there's dharma giving, teaching wisdom, ethics, sharing profound texts. The text ranks dharma giving way above material giving. Why? Because while a meal feeds someone for a day, teaching someone how to say, drop their anger, or understand the nature of reality, that transforms their entire future, yielding infinite spiritual benefits.
However, definitely don't mistake this for saying physical charity doesn't matter. It absolutely does. The sutra gets incredibly pragmatic here on how to help in the real world. It lists some highly practical acts: building medical clinics, physically repairing dangerous roads and clearing hazards, planting fruit trees so travelers have shade and food, and personally, like with your own 2 hands, guiding the blind and helping the vulnerable. True spirituality here is deeply grounded in rolling up your sleeves and making the physical world a better place.
Now, here is a fascinating mythbuster from the text that I absolutely love. Have you ever hesitated to give someone money because you were worried they might just go use it for something harmful? The sutra addresses this head-on. It states super clearly, if you give purely and the recipient turns around and uses your gift for evil, that bad karma does not taint your pure heart. No way. The sin belongs to them alone. Your act of compassion remains completely intact. You're responsible for your pure intention, not their subsequent actions. That's a massive relief, honestly. Which brings us to Part 3, Karma and the True Refuge, Finding Sanctuary in a Turbulent World. Understanding that boundary of personal responsibility leads us to the inner, spiritual pillar of this text. When the world is totally turbulent, where do we actually find real sanctuary? To break the cycle of suffering, the sutra outlines taking refuge in 3 specific pillars, known as the 3 refuges. First, the Buddha, and we don't just mean a historical figure, but the ultimate teacher who reveals the root cause of our afflictions. Second, the Dharma. This is the actual, practical tool used to break those afflictions. And third, the Sangha, the community of practitioners who are actively putting this truth into practice. Together, these form a complete,
bulletproof system for finding true safety, not in a physical place, but in spiritual reality.
Okay, part 4. Dispelling myths of fate. Taking control of your karmic destiny.
Taking refuge requires right understanding, though. We can't use these tools if our fundamental view of the universe is completely flawed. The sutra brilliantly argues against popular ideas of its time, and frankly our time too, that our fates are somehow ruled by a creator god, or by the stars, or by astrological timing. It literally calls these false beliefs. Instead, it places all the power and all the heavy responsibility squarely on personal karma. It's the truth that your own physical, verbal, and mental actions are what directly shape your reality and your future. You are the sole architect of your destiny.
And the text makes this argument with a highly logical, almost scientific rhetorical question. It asks, well, if the stars or astrological seasons control our fate, why do two people born at the exact same time, under the exact same stars, often experience completely different fortunes? Why does one suffer terribly while another thrives? By pointing out this glaring logical flaw, the sutra totally strips away our ability to pass the buck or blame the universe. The difference in their lives, the text asserts, boils down to their individual karmic actions.
That leads us right into part 5, the power of precepts, which is the ultimate spiritual discipline.
So once we accept that our actions are the sole driver of our reality, it naturally leads to cultivating true discipline. And to illustrate just how immensely valuable this discipline is, the sutra uses a truly mind-bending analogy. It asks you to imagine the ancient mythological treasure hoards in legendary kingdoms like Kalinga. We're talking wealth so vast, so unimaginably huge, that if you used endless caravans of elephants, horses, and chariots, it would take them 7 continuous years just to carry it all away. Just keep that image of boundless physical wealth in your head for a second.
Now look at this comparison. The astonishing reveal here is that all of that unimaginable physical wealth, which is going to fade away eventually anyway, pales in comparison to discipline. Sincerely taking the 3 refuges and following the 8 precepts for just one single day and one single night creates a spiritual merit that vastly outshines all of those 7 treasure hoards combined. Seriously, one day of pure discipline is worth more than a kingdom's gold. It blows it completely out of the water.
And the way it phrases it is just gorgeous. The sutra tells us the precepts are the ornaments of unsurpassed bodhi, which means ultimate enlightenment. So often, we view rules or precepts as these heavy restrictions, things that stop us from having fun. But this text reframes them entirely. They aren't chains holding you down, they are jewelry. They are magnificent ornaments that actually adorn your mind as you walk the path toward total freedom.
So as we wrap up this explainer on the anatomy of true goodness according to the Upasaka Sutra, I really want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. Take a look at your own life and your own actions today. When you act, when you give, when you practice discipline, are you just transacting with the universe, holding out for some cosmic paycheck? Or are you using those actions to actively strip away your ego, break your afflictions, and step onto the path of true, lasting liberation? The choice, according to the text, is entirely yours.